Well, this week, an immigration detention center known as Alligator Alcatraz opened near Miami. And while the state of Florida owns that makeshift jail, private companies are also helping to house a surge of immigrants arrested by the Trump administration. But a Scripps News investigation found jails run by for-profit companies have a long history of problems, from overcrowding to understaffing. Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra joins us now with his findings from Leavenworth, Kansas. Patrick, what'd you find?
Well, hey, Andrew, when you say Leavenworth, Kansas, people probably think of the huge federal prison complex that once housed Al Capone. Well, we went there to see a different jail, one that's now at the center of the nation's immigration debate.
CoreCivic, one of the nation's largest operators of private jails, owns this vacant detention center in Leavenworth, Kansas. The Trump administration signed a no-bid contract with CoreCivic to confine more than 1,000 people here arrested by Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
We're a few miles south of the main part of town right now, and as we make this turn, oh, there it is. That's it. It's surprisingly a small campus. Contracts to put more immigrants in private jails with extra funding in President Trump's big bill in Congress are boosting companies like CoreCivic, as its CEO said in a recent earnings call.
Never in our 42-year company history have we had so much activity and demand for our services as we are seeing right now.
But Leavenworth, this city in the middle of red state Kansas, is pushing back and opening a window into problems with for-profit jails our Scripps News investigation uncovered. A lawsuit filed by the city of Leavenworth against CoreCivic describes the jail here as an absolute hellhole. Mayor Holly Pittman is leading a fight to make CoreCivic get city approval to detain immigrants here.
CoreCivic, I need to know that they're going to be able to work with us on investigations so that people are going to be taken care of, our inmates are going to be taken care of, the officers are going to be taken care of.
But it is very clear Leavenworth has a lot of concerns about CoreCivic reopening.
We've had a lot of former corrections officers come out and tell their story. We've had a lot of family members who have not had good experiences in CoreCivic.
Stories from people like William Rogers, who was a corrections officer at the center when it housed federal criminal inmates before emptying out when the Biden administration stopped using private jails. Had you worked in a jail or prison before?
Never have. But CoreCivic, if you're breathing, they'll hire you.
Rogers worked in the jail beginning in 2016, a year before a blistering Justice Department audit documented a chronic lack of staffing at the facility. At times, not enough people to man security posts identified as mandatory to run the facility in a safe and secure manner. Things got so bad, Rogers says, an inmate was able to attack him.
He came up behind me. I should have known better, right? And he hit me in the back of the head with a tray. I didn't have the bubble that was supposed to be working that day on me. It working. No.
You didn't have the right amount?
Too short-staffed. So the only thing I was dependent on was the cameras.
It would take 14 staples to close his head wound. He and other insiders also told us about inmate overcrowding. In 2017, the Justice Department found that officials at CoreCivic in Leavenworth uninstalled beds before an inspection to conceal that they were triple bunking detainees.
People were everywhere.
Before being moved to a federal prison to do time for conspiring to commit arson and insurance fraud, Tina Shank-Little was held at CoreCivic in Leavenworth.
Lack of feminine hygiene products, the lack of toilet paper, lack of blankets, lack of mats.
Some might say this is detention. This is what jail or prison is supposed to be like.
That's not what jail or prison is supposed to be like. Prison compared to that was a dream, and it very much was. It was a night and day difference.
CoreCivic acknowledged there were challenges during an 18-month period in a tight labor market during the pandemic. The jail has its supporters. We caught up with Republican State Representative Pat Proctor, who told us opponents of CoreCivic are standing in the way of 300 jobs and more than $1 million worth of investment the company would pump into their community.
I think it's pretty clear that the city's not going to give them a permit because the city government's dominated by Democrats that are using this red herring issue of a special use permit as a way to stop President Trump's immigration policy. I wish we could just get out of the way and let it happen.
A security guard in a vehicle watched as we took note of what appeared to be workers unloading boxes and testing alarms. I want to show you something there's been a lot of talk about in Leavenworth, and that is the parking lot here at CoreCivic. People asking, why are there so many cars here for a facility that's not even supposed to be open? CoreCivic declined a request for an interview, but sent a statement saying, we are not currently caring for anyone at the Leavenworth site, and that our facility will operate with strong oversight and accountability from our government partners, including regular audits and on-site monitors. I know you saw this quote. A judge said it was an absolute hellhole. Why would you want an absolute hellhole in your community?
Yeah, well, I can't really speak to the specifics of what that judge may have been talking about, but jails are bad places. That's why you try to follow the law and not get put in jail.
But a 2016 federal audit found higher rates of safety-related incidents at private or contract prisons. There were more assaults, uses of force, lockdowns compared to federal prisons. The report also called out CoreCivic, saying the company's contract prisons had the highest rates of inmate fights and inmate assaults on other inmates. Just weeks ago at CoreCivic's state prison in Trousdale, Tennessee, more than 100 officers had to put down a riot. The Justice Department under President Biden had been investigating that correctional center, saying it has been plagued by serious problems since it first opened its doors in 2016. Former Leavenworth Corrections Officer William Rogers sees a pattern.
As I talked to people in Trousdale, they came into Trousdale telling the same stories that they're telling up in Leavenworth. It's like, oh my God. And I've seen it prior with these inmates not getting what they're supposed to. I've seen it prior. I experienced it firsthand. Tell me how it's going to be different.
CoreCivic declined to say when the first group of immigrants may become the latest detainees locked up in this prison town. And we were able to pull the records of the actual contract with CoreCivic for that Leavenworth facility. It is for just over $10 million, and the records make very clear that this was not a competitive bidding process. DHS saying that is because they see unusual and compelling urgency to get that center open and reactivated, but right now it remains idle. Andrew.
All right, Scripps News investigative correspondent Patrick Terpstra for us. Patrick, thank you so much.